mean something like me.
All right.
So we just walk.
Let's walk.
Fantastic.
We're
There we
here
go.
today with, welcome to another episode of Walking with Walfinch. We've got my non-exec director here, my 2-month-old baby,
amazing.
and it was a tough night. I told my wife to sleep now, so Bailey will be all right with this.
No, this is great. This is one of the funnest podcasts I've done.
It's
special guest.
we've got to make it okay, right?
Can we be introduced? Is it a boy? Is it
It's a little boy. His
little
name's
boy.
Zarava.
Zarava.
It's an old Sikh warrior name. It was Guru Gobind Singh, who's the last of the 10 gurus. It was one of his son's names, and
That's a cool name.
so we've always liked it. But you're the guest of honor today.
Yeah, so I'm the guest of honor, but this is a special guest.
This is a special guest. So we've got Bailey Greetham from Be Great Fitness. Not CEO, MD. And founder.
CEO's a bit posh.
A bit posh. But it's,
I'm a Norman lad.
So what is it?
Yeah, so to put it simply, it is a health and wellbeing company. We do exercise and care homes.
Yeah.
That's it, you know.
Nice.
To
Love it.
really wrap it up. But in reality, what I really think our company stands for is community, relationships, conversations. We're in a really nice position in the care world.
Yeah.
Where we can go in for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is that, you know, the amount of time we spend in a care home, and not worry about administering medication, making sure the residents are clean, because that's all done. So we get to just purely skip out all the, you know, really tough parts of care and go straight to the laughs, conversations, relationships, and really build up these incredible bonds.
Yeah.
So although we do exercise, I feel like we do so much more.
Well, you do so much more. I mean, honestly, so as you know, Walfinch has kind of moved towards that wellness space.
Yes,
and
I've been seeing it's cool.
It's just
cool.
so important though, right? You know, I think
it plays a huge role in our lives outside of the care sector.
Yeah.
So why would it not play a huge role in our lives when we enter the care sector, whether it's home care or care at a home elsewhere than your own, you know?
Yeah.
It should be just as incorporated as it is when we're 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 and we're stressed out and we go for a run and we go to the gym and we feel good and those endorphins are rushing around.
Yep.
So why at 60, 70, 80 are we not moving and grooming to make us feel better? Why are we just getting straight on the meds?
Well, and this is it. And really, all-cause mortality decreases by a significant level by just being active, right?
Exactly.
You know, so
and that's away from all the fall prevention and you know, keeping residents in the homes and out of the NHS beds. You know, just purely away from the scientific stuff. Exercise is good for you. It's just generally good for you. So we try to bring that to residents. I think my passion's about making sure vulnerable groups have the right access. I started at 17.
Amazing. What a legend. That is amazing.
I went fully self-employed at 18.
And you did a TED Talks as well?
I did a TEDx talk at 18
What on earth?
about building up community through exercise.
Wow.
So I've not always worked in care. I've done all sorts of projects, from youth work in America to women's safe spaces in Grimsby, handling public funds to make sure that fitness and sport is used as a tool to create relationships and community, and just all around making sure it's accessible to anyone, no matter why. I think when we did a women's only group at 18, I was given my first ever pot of funding.
Wow.
And a charity trusted me to run this session, and I was like, what do I know about what women need and why they need to be safe? So when I created that, I was like, right, I don't know why the women need this, and I'm not the person to decide why the women need this. So let's just make it there and accessible, and let's bring some female coaches on board, and let's say this is a safe space. No matter why it's a safe space, it's there for you.
Phenomenal.
And we had over 130 women locally access that.
Whoa!
So that was really cool.
And what was the demographic? What sort of people were these?
I wish we could have sort of said this was a specific demographic, but actually we had everyone from, you know, really young, sort of early teenage years coming with their mums to older ladies in their 50s. And it was just,
isn't that everything right there?
It is.
You know, that is brilliant.
And it was like my first exposure to community and creating an accessible setting and realising that fitness is for all, and we can't decide the reason people need to access fitness, but what we can do is provide that. And that led into my work with vulnerable groups, adults with LD, autism, and eventually my work in the care sector, which is so very prominent now. And
it's wonderful. I see you all over the place. I think what you're doing is so important, and you know, and I feel personally really connected to it, because I think that the wellness bit is actually something that's really missing
It is.
You know, worldwide actually,
Yeah.
within the aging space. And I think when we're talking about longevity and aging well,
Yeah.
you know, if we're not simply talking to a 50-year-old about planning to be able to stand up in
Yeah.
your 80s,
No, exactly.
you know, that's part of the issue, isn't it?
I think one of the issues we see in care, and it was Richard from Care England that mentioned this. He said that in care we double hand
Yeah.
care, so
Yeah.
we care almost too much.
Yeah.
And obviously working in care, you're not going to be in that position unless you genuinely, and I feel like I've said care so many times, but care about what you're doing there, because it's one of those careers where you have to have a passion for it and you have to love it to work in
Yes.
it. It can get tough,
Yeah.
but it can get so amazing and rewarding at the same time. So when we care too much, we almost create this bubble-wrapped environment, and by creating a bubble-wrapped environment, we take away their independence.
Yeah.
So we put 2 nursing staff on 1 resident to try and get them out of a chair.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, let's encourage them to maybe have a little bit more independence if they
Yeah.
can, and help them train to get out of their chair on their own. Not only does that help the resident, but it helps the team, because that's 2 more staff elsewhere for somebody that needs it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. My dad, who is now in his 70s, when his dad came to live with us for a few years from India, you know, he's passed away now, was from, you know, village India. There's not really any provision apart from the village. And he came over, and my dad is a very sort of, you know, go get a firm guy, right? You know, not for everyone else, just for us. So my granddad's there trying to get ready, and we're helping him, me and my dad, and he's got buttons to do up.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, no, you can do them. And if you really can't do them, I'll help you, but you can do them.
Yes.
You know, and I was like, I thought it was a bit cruel at the time, but actually looking back, I was like,
It was probably the most caring thing he
it
could
was
have
the
done.
kindest thing he could have done.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And actually, that is it. You know, we're so eager to help that we can spoil the situation. Actually,
And you can just see it's purely out of that goodness of somebody's heart to try and help people. But I think that's where we bring it back, and what we do is we give them their independence back by almost using exercise as a bit of a tool to, or a bit of using conversations and those sort of relationships that we build up as a tool to disguise the exercise. So when we go into a care home, there's music on, there's laughter. We remember what Joan was on about last week and how she went out with her family, and we asked, how did that go? And sort of, you know, really subtle stuff where we're building it up, but then while we're doing that, we can be doing exercise and we can disguise the exercise. So it's not like, oh, this is a chore, because not everyone likes exercise, right? It's not always the most liked thing.
Branding it differently, I think, you know, so we're calling them Thrive Clubs, and, you know, so it's not just necessarily calling it an exercise, because I think we have a certain
perception.
Exactly. And changing that, I think, is part of the gig. And I really feel one of the things, you know, I was talking to Dr. Lucy Pollock recently, and she's written a couple of brilliant books. One that I read was called The Golden Rule. And I was talking to her about this, and we were just talking about the fact that, maybe people don't like to exercise. But actually, you know, how do we bring that in? And really, for me, it's about spreading the word. You know, and actually, you know, sort of talking to someone like yourself, and hopefully that will motivate more nursing homes, care homes to utilise your services or start their own. And
one thing I mentioned in my TEDx talk back when I was 18 was how, when we look at exercise, like my talk was called Joyful Movement. So we have to find something we find joy in. So exercise for me does not look like sitting in a commercial gym, unfortunately. I'm from a boxing background, so I love a pretty hardcore class. I want somebody shouting explicit words at me while I exercise. You know, I want something a bit more intense. Whereas others maybe are a big fan of tennis or rounders, or even, you know, squash, something a little bit different. But it's still movement, and it's still exercise. And
That's it.
If we don't enjoy it, we're not going to do it, and we're not going to carry it on. So as we come into the new year, actually, when we look at exercise and when we look at finding stuff that can keep us healthy and active, we need to look at stuff that actually we enjoy. Because if not, we're going to do a gym session, we're going to go to a HIIT class, we're not going to like it, we're going to go, but it felt good afterwards, but I didn't really enjoy it. We'll go maybe a few more weeks, and then by Feb, we'll be done.
Well, most New Year's resolutions last 6 weeks, right?
Exactly,
It's,
exactly.
and actually, you want to be changing the attitude towards the whole thing. I think exactly that. Finding joy. I love that. Finding joy.
Joyful movement.
Joyful movement. I mean,
It's
that
really
is brilliant.
powerful.
Because
So-
that's it.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's paddle or whether that's,
Exactly.
lifting weights or boxing. I mean, that is it, right?
But what keeps us around in these settings is, and whether it's in the care sector or whether it's not, it's also the friends you make along the way, the community you feel part of, where there's a social aspect, there's a conversational aspect. We set up a group a while ago where in the plan for the funding, conversation was part of the session plan.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's let this group of people come in, speak, catch up as part of that session, and then exercise.
Yeah.
Because they want to relate, they want to find their tribe, their
tribe,
people.
yeah.
It's really important, and that transfers back into the care sector. So when we're doing these group activities, it's not forced. People have the choice to come down to the lounge and join us,
Yeah.
and these people do, and then they see sort of Jeff, and I haven't seen Jeff since last week at the end. What have you been doing? Because although these people live with each other, they don't always cross paths.
It's just so interesting. We're just walking past this over here. They do cold water swimming here.
I love cold water swimming.
Do you?
Honestly, I'm such a water baby. So I grew up around Cleethorpes. It's not the nicest of waters to go into,
Yeah.
but just any water, I'll jump in.
I mean,
if you said, honestly, right now, if you said we'll go in, I'd be up for it. Get a
I don't have a
towel.
wetsuit for Zarava, so
We'll have to escape that
are
this
you
time.
in? Right. So
gorgeous.
we were doing we're going through our brand relaunch,
Yes,
and we
I
did
saw. I saw.
all
Did you get in?
I didn't, but the lady who did, who
Yeah.
was in her, I think she was about 76.
Yeah.
I mean, what a legend. She hadn't been before, and I was like, I really think this would be a wonderful shot. And she
Yeah.
gets into the water. It was freezing.
Is that footage out yet? I wanna
so
see
so
that.
on our deck of
Yes.
imagery, that's part of it. But we've got all the BTS that we've sort of put together. I mean, she was so cool.
Talk to me about that, because home care is your thing, right?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
Walfinch, and it's incredible to see, because my granddad unfortunately now has dementia.
Yeah.
And he's still at home, and his,
Which is hard, right?
It is hard. It's really hard for my grandma, and I try to support as much as I can. But what's been a godsend is home care.
Really?
Absolutely a godsend. So,
And there are some excellent home care brands out there. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all my competitors, I shouldn't say, but there are some phenomenal, and not just, we always congratulate the care workers who are just phenomenal,
Yeah,
but actually the leaders in the sector, a lot of my colleagues as well, that I just think, wow, they've literally devoted their lives to
Yeah.
finding and training the right staff to changing, people's lives.
funny you say that about competitors, because I was asked the other day who are my competitors by sort of somebody trying to give us some business advice. And I was like, we don't have competitors because we're in the care world.
Yeah, yeah.
So anybody trying to improve the lives of the elderly, which the care sector is massive, there's enough room for everybody.
There's plenty of work for everyone.
Anybody trying to improve the lives of the elderly
Yeah.
is my ally,
Yeah,
is my
yeah.
colleague,
Yeah.
whether it's my company or not. So, one thing we're working on at the minute is a white paper report with Care England to genuinely prove and evidence
Yeah.
what we're doing is important, powerful, and genuinely, statistically improving the lives of our elderly. So when we bring that to government, which is the plan,
Yeah.
we want to share those views, we want to share those statistics, not only to get, hopefully, some kind of change within social care, but to encourage more people in the fitness world to reach out to their local care home to see if
Absolutely.
they need an exercise session.
Which is cross-pollination is great for their businesses,
Yes.
both parties,
Yeah.
but also the outcome in the end is just phenomenal.
And
right?
I always say, whether it's my company or somebody else's, I just want people moving.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. So,
Well, hey, if you need any sort of assistance with any of the stats, we are right
That'd be
behind
really
you.
cool.
We're there.
That
We're
would be
there. You
really
can talk
cool.
about the community as well. I mean, we are there, right?
So that's what it's about. But sort of going back to yourself with home care, the reason I brought it up was I'm seeing all the wellbeing stuff. I'm loving all the wellbeing stuff.
Thank you.
Where does that tie in? Well, this is different, because when we talk about home care,
It's not naturally what you think of.
No, we look at the bare necessities: medication, blood tests.
Well, this is
safety,
part of the problem.
cleanliness.
Yeah.
So where does this additional, which should be there for the most part, but isn't. So where does that come into play with yourselves? How does that integrate into your current work?
So for me, part of the problem is the branding of the sector.
Okay.
And the sector has always been branded as we go in, we clean bums, and we go to the next person and clean their bum, right?
Yes.
And that's just not the case, actually. You know, we might also be the only person that Mrs. Jones sees all week.
No, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We might be the reason that she was able to pull that photo album out and talk about her grandkids again, and that whole piece. So for me, it really goes beyond that, but we're not talking about that. And I think part of the issue is that no one really has thought about what we're trying to do here. You know, there's enough outcomes being provided by doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
There is enough work. There is enough business, and
The
so there's
world's
no.
only getting older.
But there's no reason, therefore, to change something that isn't broken.
True.
And so, but for
Just
me,
causing more effort.
I just feel like, you know, I'm 37, right? And in 20 years' time, I still want to be in business.
Yes.
But do I want this? And if I don't want this, I can either complain about this, or I can do something about it. And I'm doing something about it, hoping that others will join the war effort.
Because
really.
when there's a problem, we sort of have this thing as a collective, as a human race, where we go, oh man, that's a real issue. Somebody should do something about that.
Yeah.
You know, somebody should really sort that out. But actually, sometimes somebody is us.
Well, and you're doing that in the nursing space. I want, you know, us to really drive that agenda in the community sector, where we're able to not only provide care for somebody, but also we're then talking to people much earlier in the journey. We're talking to them in their 50s and offering them support to say, well, how do you know, increase muscle mass from this age until your 80s? And then, you know, just create that whole
warm
lifespan.
entry into the care world.
Yeah.
Because one thing we don't talk about is our latter years. It's death, it's care, it's what does that look like for us? Because it's scary sometimes, and it's not part of society.
Awful,
so if we can create a warm entry by talking about well-being with 40 and 50-year-olds ready for maybe 60 and 70, you know, that creates a much safer environment and a much more prepared society.
Well, if I think about my folks, so my parents are both in their 70s, right?
Yeah.
My dad, for example, trains, you know, goes to the gym. Goes to the gym, right? Has done for you know, my whole life, basically. You know, active, fit, and so on, touch wood, you know, but also has a whiskey basically every night. Right?
Well,
you know, but you know, and goes on holiday and has a laugh, and you know, and you know, has always monitored his body weight, his metrics, his you know, kept his blood tests and all that kind of stuff, and you know, so just to sort of say, well, okay, great. And then I'm looking at the sector and saying, well, in 10 years' time, when you're in your 80s, is this industry appropriate for you? It's just not, right?
No.
And so if it's not, then what are we doing?
Because it goes back to that thing of where we say the reason these opportunities and these exercise classes and these community spaces need to be available and there, where we talk about wellness in care homes, which is sort of our main focus at the minute. We'd love to maybe see a little bit more. Should we cut?
Yeah. Should we cut for a second? He's doing very well, isn't he?
Wow.
It's all right. Yeah.
Slow down a little bit.
Back to the future.
But the reason we're focusing on this is because when we look at people like your father, who are so active and care so much about movement, then they get to a point where maybe they've had a fall. They're on their own now. Worst case scenario, I'm so sorry to say it, but maybe in a few years your father is at home alone. You know, it's not a nice thought, but he is. And he has a fall and it's not quite safe and he has to go into a care home because that's the best environment. What we want to see is your father's hobbies, activities being carried on. If your father still moves, even if he's hurt his shoulder really badly, meaning he can't live at home or even just needs a bit of respite, we don't just want him to sit in a chair. We don't just want him to sit there static. We want him to be able to carry on exercising, carry on moving and carry on with that passion of his, even in care. So we look at having tennis players, marathon runners, football players, whatever it is, sports people, they're not just going to stop when they get old. They still go on their walk.
Exactly.
So why do they have to stop when they go into a care setting?
I think this is the point. I mean, for me, it's about trying to. I don't know if you ever watched. I think Blue Zones on Netflix. It's a great. You'll love it. Actually, it's all about how these different pockets of the world. They've kind of created these blue zones, which is essentially where people live beyond 100 in highest density.
Is that Italy's got
there's one in Italy. There's Okinawa and various little spots. Sorry, and I think the biggest thing really is community. It is activity, eating well, and so on. I'm like, well, why can't we make home that?
Yes.
It's really just, and you think, well, okay, we can formulaically help people, and I think that's the point. But so Bailey, we could carry on talking about this for days,
we're very
right?
Passionate about this.
But time is finite, and my questions are vast.
Okay.
So I mean, sorry. You have achieved just a phenomenal amount of stuff in a very young age, and B, a really short space of time, which I find so inspirational.
I like to keep busy.
Oh, it's brilliant. So recently, I sort of follow some of the stuff that you do on the socials and whatever, and I saw that you had a tie-up with Puberty.
Yes. Oh my gosh, what an incredible partnership. So we have collaborated, myself, not my company actually, but myself and Puberty have got together to create something called Old Friend Club.
Right, yeah, which is cool, by the way.
It is cool,
really
because
cool.
What it's got to is crazy. We've got people writing and sending letters in. My house looks like a post office because our producer, Ollie, has put the address for all the gifts and the letters as mine. So,
nice.
So
well
mine looks
done,
like a
right.
But it is a club now because we've got these people writing in and conversing and watching, and what we've done is we've taken again a sector which maybe the younger generation doesn't even have it on its radar.
No, of course, Why would they?
Well, exactly. I'm 21. My focus in life is just to be busy and excited and do cool things and help people, and because I'm in care, luckily I'm a little bit more conscious about our elderly generation. But if I wasn't, I can't imagine, and past my grandparents, I'd think too much about care homes or home care. So what we've done is we're almost making care cool through this show.
And that's the whole game.
Yeah. And
if we can do that well as a sector, and you're doing it right there, and I think that is so interesting.
So we've got such a young demographic of viewers who tune in like every day to see either our videos with the elderly residents or our whiteboard questions, and it goes viral. It goes absolutely viral. So we've had over 200 million hits in 4 to 5 months.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing.
But we are so lucky. My producer's a genius, absolutely incredible. He comes up with so much of the show, and just, it's gorgeous. So to sum it up, it's myself and a care home resident sat down talking about anything from how they met their first love to asking them to rate certain celebrities' outfits on the red carpet last weekend, and it just is gorgeous and poetic and emotional.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Beautiful.
It's really fun to watch.
And it's fun to watch. It's really short.
Even if I wasn't in the sector, it'd be fun to watch.
Exactly.
Right?
I think we've got so many people that are not in the sector who are just falling in love and then inquiring and seeing what the sector's about and asking to help. And we've had so many random people just want to commit, whether it's time, energy, money, to not only the show, which we can't accept, sort of other people helping out, unfortunately, be great, but actually to the care homes and the residents and just the messages we get now.
It's wonderful.
It's
really wonderful. And so what does the long-term vision look like for you and for your business and, your vision in general? I mean, where is that going?
So my company, I really want to help as many people as possible. We know what we're doing now.
Yeah.
To put it simply, we do exercise in care homes. I know that sounds really simplistic, but actually that's what we do. And it's not difficult to scale up. All we do is we find people who are just as passionate as myself about providing this level of care for residents, and we bring them on and we give them careers. My whole thing is about full-time jobs. I like to provide careers and jobs. I don't want to just say, I'll give you 4 care homes, let me skim some profit off the top and off I go. Yep. I want to provide safety, security, sick pay, maternity pay, because I think it's about life. I think when I talk so much about community in our work, but if I didn't have any actual real community in my like job space, in my employees, my team, then I'm just a hypocrite. So, you know, I really want to build that up on that side. So national expansion is what we're working on at the minute. We've just
Phenomenal.
we started working with a group called Tanglewood, which are an incredible group in Lincolnshire and Yorkshire, which were our first ever sort of success story as a bigger client, and then we just signed Bupa. So
Amazing.
we are now expanding across Bupa Care Services nationally, which
Phenomenal.
is really, really exciting. And other care homes are very quickly reaching out. So
As they ought to.
yeah,
Too
too
as they
right.
ought to,
Bless
yeah.
them. So just as the company is growing, we just want to expand our reach. That's all.
Good man.
More people helped, more exercise classes delivered to the elderly generation. And from my behalf, I want to influence the world when it comes to caring about the care sector. I want to get people who are not interested in care interested in care. So we're working on things like the white paper, where we can take that and lobby in government with it and show these evidence and statistics, and sort of use currently my social media to bring that to the government side of my work. And then with sort of our show like Old Friend Club, it's about showing how cool care can be. So for me, it's about realising that I'm 21, which again is really important intergenerational work.
It really is.
It's realising that I've got a very quick growing audience, you know, where we just started posting on social media a year and a half ago. We just hit 80,000 TikTok followers,
Whee.
36,000 Instagram followers, and the show's now at over 200,000 Instagram followers. So we're very rapidly getting attention, and I want to use that attention to positively impact the care space. I don't just want to sell out and start flogging Dyson Hoovers. Yeah. I want to make sure that anything we work on is somehow impacting, benefiting, promoting care. Little one.
There you go. There you go. He agrees.
agrees.
He agrees. He agrees. Well done.
Yeah,
Right?
it's realising that
What are you going to do?
youth is on our side. And
as you can tell.
the care sector needs it. The care sector needs youth, and I feel like for once we're accepted. Like,
Amazing.
I'm so lucky. I've not experienced any kind of ageism working in this sector. I've met now.
I think quite the opposite. I think actually everyone I've spoken to. So actually,
They're
I
so
think
keen
we
to
were
have young
introduced
people.
to each other through Anne Taylor. I think.
Yes, and it was at the Ivy.
Yeah, at the Care Talks
At the
event.
Care Talk event,
And
yes.
she's, oh, you're going to love this guy. You've got to meet him. And I think actually quite the opposite. I think people love the fact that younger people are
Yeah.
coming into the sector
Yeah.
and really just doing it. Right?
Absolutely, because the sector needs it, and it does feel like the sector is accepting it
Yeah.
with open arms.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I'm so lucky
Well
to now
done,
be in this
yeah.
position with a level of influence, with a company that's doing good things, and a sector that actually wants me.
Phenomenal.
It
Good
feels
man.
like it feels like a good
This
spot
was a
to
high,
be in, yeah.
high five moment. You know, I feel energized. You know?
Exactly.
Do some squats and a baby. Come on.
That's impressive. We should set up a baby exercise class. I don't have a baby.
I've been to a few of
I'm
those
gonna have to
actually.
have you.
Yeah. Baby exercise
I'm gonna have to
classes,
borrow
baby
somebody's
cinema
baby.
classes, and you know, it's quite fun. But actually, I think that's the thing. Like, you know, I was with Cecilia the other day. I
Yes,
told you,
yeah,
and I took Zarava with me, and I was like,
Oh,
you know, I'm just going to normalise taking a baby to the odd thing. I was like,
No,
well,
why the hell not?
it's-
We all have
you
to
know,
work,
It's
you know,
life,
gosh,
right? You know, you know, I think there's so much of that. I think a bit of daddy-oing is what's needed, right?
No,
So,
that's really good. But yeah, the sector feels optimistic. It feels special at this time. I know with the
Amazing.
budget, there's some fear in the water.
Yeah, but then but stuff like this not only is a good outcome for the end client,
Yeah.
but it is a good outcome for the business. So, you know, if nursing homes get behind it, you know, do I want my parents at a nursing home that provides this or not? Would I pay a little bit more?
Yeah.
Would that cover for some of the costs that we're going to incur from the budget?
As care homes, we have to stand out above the crowd, and you know, being good, rated by Ofsted as good, not Ofsted, so rated by CQC as good.
Yep.
It's a nice position to be in, but it's the additionals that get you to outstanding. It's the exercise classes, it's the barber shops, it's the stuff where we show we're doing more than the basic necessities that brings us to outstanding. So then when we look at bringing in new residents and new families, and you know, it really relies on, well, what extra do you do?
Truly.
You know, why is my mum going to come and sit in your home? I get you're really, really good at looking after them, but shouldn't we all just be really, really good at looking after residents?
Yeah.
Isn't that the bare minimum?
That's you know, hygiene, right?
Exactly. So it really is now about how we can create a really incredible environment for maybe our mum's latter years in life. So,
no, wonderful.
Yeah.
And Bailey, I usually end these things by asking people what their one actionable item would be for listeners to go off and help them on that journey to create that £1 million business. What would your piece of advice be?
I have always been a very much give it a try and see what happens.
Yeah.
Honestly, being 17, not going to uni, sort of not having any experience in the business world, my whole environment of whether it's success or failure has been based on trying it, failing, trying something different, trying it, succeeding, moving forward one.
Yeah.
So just doing it, just giving it a whirl and seeing where you go with that is really important, because you can learn and learn and learn and learn, and you'll learn to the point that you're scared to do.
Yes, truly.
Sometimes doing it is more powerful than learning.
Doing rather than the theory. I agree with that.
And then you learn from doing it, and you learn from either failing or succeeding. And I think sometimes we just need to take that little step.
Take some action. I love that. That's great. The other thing I'd like to ask you, actually, and what's been ticking along in my mind while we've been talking, has been we've just launched this wellness series.
Yes.
And
Yes, I've seen.
I'm basically partnering up with various people. I'd love to have you and the guys come in, do a session or something. It'd be good fun.
It's funny you say that, because I saw it and I was like, I want to do it.
Yeah,
I
great.
need to do it. So
we'll get these dates right in.
Let's get that
that'd be
sorted.
super cool.
Let's see how we can work on that.
And so, oh, there you go. Bit of background music there as well. And so, how do people get hold of you? What are all of the different channels?
I guess just Google us. These days with social media, we are absolutely everywhere. So if you're interested in my company's work, my team and myself, when it comes to exercise, we're Be Great Fitness. Give us a Google. We'll be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, our website. But if you're interested in sort of my personal work and what I'm trying to achieve there, I'm Bailey Greetham on all platforms. So that's GREETHAM. And we're very quickly growing a very, very supportive audience. So
phenomenal.
Yeah,
well,
it's
Bailey,
beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From me and from Zarava.
Yes.
And Zarava,
Thanks.
thank you for being
Thanks,
nice and
buddy.
quiet.
You did great.
And there you have it. We've got Bailey. This is it. It's time to thrive. Let's really be active and let's grow old really well. Please follow, please share, please like this episode, circulate it with anyone in the sector. We need leaders behind this kind of thinking. Thank you. Until next time.